All right, we're going to take a look at where to find various forms. And here we have the IRS website, www.irs.gov. Now, they do sometimes change their website, so do not be concerned if when you get on it, it looks a little different than what you're seeing in this YouTube video. Now, some common forms that you may need are here, listed right here under Forms and Pubs. Pub stands for publication. Okay, so one of the ones we're going to need is the 1099 MISC, and it's already listed there. None of the other ones are there. Here is the Pub 15. The Pub 15 is your Circular E, and you were already supposed to have downloaded that at the beginning of the semester, so you should already have that. So we need, say, the 941. So we can simply click on the Forms and Pubs, and then we want the current forms, and in the search box we're going to put 941, and that will bring it right up. Okay, now you have to make sure that you have the one for the correct quarter, so here is our form 941, and there was also instructions for it, so you can download the instructions and be able to see exactly what you need to do, or if you have some sort of question. Okay, it took a little while. However, we're finally on our form. Now, you can type right on most of these IRS forms. Sometimes some of the states you cannot type on their form right on the screen. You have to just print out the blank form and handwrite or hand type on it somehow. Payroll software oftentimes has forms as part of the software. Our project software does not, because it's made just for a little mini project. Okay, and so also once you're signed up as being an employer, we talked at the beginning of the semester about how you had to fill out an SS form and send it in, and then the IRS knows you're an employer, and they will send you these 941 forms, and already have your name and address, and your employer ID number will already be on there, so you can just check and make sure it's correct and go on. However, if for some reason you didn't get one in time or whatever, you can download it from this website, and you can type right in there whatever you need. Over to the right, you'll notice there's a place to check whatever quarter that this 941 is for. You would fill out the form, or you would print it and fill it out manually. Here's some 941V instructions, and here's the 941B. This is if you're actually making a payment with the form. Now, of course, we've learned that you're supposed to be making deposits, and that you would have already been signed up in the electronic IRS depositing system, and you would have already, when they're due, if you're monthly or semi-weekly, whatever your schedule is, you would have already been making your deposits along and along. And this is only if you need, for some reason, to pay some extra because you didn't pay enough on one of your deposits or whatever. then you would fill out this 941V and send it along with your check with the 941 form. Another IRS form is the 940 form. And again, here's the form, here's the instructions for the form. Okay, again, this would come to you in the mail with all your information on it, but otherwise you can fill it out on here and save it and print it, or you can fill it out and then fill it out by hand. Again, here's a 940V. This is if you're sending a check with the form. Remember that for FUTA, this is the FUTA form. If any quarter goes by and you owe more than $500 of FUTA for that quarter, you have to deposit it. Even though there's no form to go with it, you would make your deposit on your electronic IRS payroll tax system. If it's less than $500, then you can go ahead and wait, and you can go ahead and mail it in with this form on January 31st. Now, we're going to get to some other forms, annual forms that are IRS forms that we can technically not use on here, but you will use for your project. In real life, you are not allowed to use these. So, Form W-2, okay, it says, attention, this form is provided for informational purposes only. Copy A appears in red, similar to the official IRS form. Do not file copy A downloaded from this website with the SSA, which is the Social Security Administration. The official printed version of this IRS form is scannable, but the online version of it printed from this website is not. A penalty may be imposed for filing forms that can't be scanned. See the penalty section in the current general instructions for more information on exactly how much penalty you're going to end up getting if you do this. Okay, so you have to you can go to the IRS and they will give you the forms, and then you have to figure out how are you going to type onto them. Or you can have software where it will print out from your laser printer and be so that it can be scannable and correct. Okay, but you're going to have to do something. You can't wait till the last minute and say, oops, I can't do this. For our class purposes, we're going to use these 941 forms, and that'll be perfectly fine. You're also welcome to use the not 941, these W-2 forms. You're also welcome to use the W-2 forms that are in your book for your project and write right in there. Now, do realize that in real life, the W-2 forms come in multiple copies. The top copy, as it says and as it shows, is red, and this is the copy that goes to the Social Security Administration. They keep track of how much Social Security and Medicare goes to each person so that they know how much Social Security benefits that person's going to get when that person retires. So that's their job. And so they get this top red copy, Social Security Administration. It even says down here at the bottom, copy A for Social Security Administration. Okay, here is the second copy, and this copy says copy 1 for state, city, or local tax department. Okay, and so you could, this would be what the company sends to the state. You're going to fill out your SIT end of the year form, and you're going to send all these SIT copy 1s of the W-2s in with it. Copy B to file with employees' federal tax return. So you're going to be giving this to the employee, and they're going to attach it to their Form 1040 that they fill out in the spring. This is copy C for employees' records, so the employee, you'll give that to them as well, and they'll be keeping that for themselves. This is copy 2 to be filed with employees' state income tax return, so the employee fills out their state income tax return, they'll attach this copy, so you'll be giving that to them as well. Copy D for employer. So this is a copy you're going to keep. Now, the IRS and the Social Security Administration does allow you, your company, to make your own W-2 forms, but you have to get that done well ahead of time and get your what you're doing approved by them. Okay, if you're using software, the software company is already approved, and so you can just use the forms that come out from them, and they may look slightly different. They still have all the same box numbers, etc., that these official ones have, but they might be formatted slightly different. Okay, also notice, do not cut, fold, or staple forms on this page. Now you're going to have one of these W-2s for each and every employee, and then we're going to have one overall W-3, which is a summary form. You're going to have the W-3 has all the summary total information on it, and then all your W-2s will be attached to the W-3 of these red copies that go to the Social Security Administration. In your project, of course, you are only going to have one copy, which is either the copy in your book, or you can choose any one of these copies and fill it out. Now, I don't believe these copies allow you to actually type on them because you're not supposed to be printing and downloading. And when you download it, it might even say something on there that it's do not file or something like that, but that's okay if you want to hand it in to me. Alright, we have our W-3, which is that summary form, and again you see the same thing. The W-3 is the summary form that's going to go to the Social Security Administration. So you're going to need one of those and a bunch of W-2s that go with it, all in one package, to the Social Security Administration. Now, there are a bunch of different kinds of 1099s. The one we're going to have in our project is 1099-MISC for miscellaneous. Okay, same thing. 1099 is going to the Social Security Administration, so you cannot use these for real life. However, once again, you can use either the one in your book, or you can print one of these down and fill it out by hand to give me for your project. These we'll use for independent contractors generally, and we'll be using box 7. If you were a landlord, you would be using box 1, showing how much rent that somebody gave you that was not incorporated. Okay, any withholding, any federal income tax withheld, you would end up putting in box 4. Usually the independent contractor is going to get paid a flat amount, no tax will be withheld. But that independent contractor can request you to withhold federal income tax, and if they do, you must do so. And if so, then you fill it out on this 1099, otherwise you leave it blank. And we'll be talking about that when we get into how to do the forms. Now, the 1099s come with also a summary form, which is the 1096, and it also, in real life, cannot be downloaded from here. And this just, it shows how many total you have, and if you're using this with 1099 MISCs, you can see that, and you would put an X in this box where it says 1099 MISC. Alright, those are the IRS federal forms that we will need. If you also need some state forms, you have to know what is the website for that particular state. Now, for the state of South Carolina, we're going to go to www.sctax.org. And here is the South Carolina Department of Revenue. We can go down to these quick links and go to forms and instructions. And we want withholding forms. And here we've looked at this before. And you have the withholding guides that you use to withhold state income taxes. And there's also, here it is, SC Withholding Quarterly Tax Return, WH 1605. And notice that this is only to be used for quarter 1, 2, and 3. It says stop, do not use for fourth quarter, use WH 1606. And so you will have to do that if you were using these for real life. You would use this for the first, second, and third quarter, and you will use the WH 1606 for the fourth quarter, because it not only has the fourth quarter, but it also has an annual state reconciliation information. Now, in your project, which is Pennsylvania, there's a separate Pennsylvania annual reconciliation. So you're going to have a separate quarterly for the fourth quarter for SIT, and then a separate state reconciliation that shows the whole year's information. South Carolina puts the fourth quarter and the annual reconciliation together on one form. Okay, now these on the South Carolina Department of Revenue deal with SIT. Okay, if you have also noticed, they have a transmittal form for W-2 submitted by CD-ROM or paper. So if you were going to submit W-2s, remember those copy ones, you would also fill out this form and submit it with that if you were not submitting them online. Okay? Now, otherwise, you would put things in with your WH 606. That's that fourth quarter form that we took a look at. Now, SUTA forms in South Carolina go to the South Carolina Department of Employment Workforce, and so that's a whole different South Carolina agency. So you're not going to find SUTA forms on here. You would have to go to their website. Unfortunately, South Carolina is a state that does not allow you to have SUTA forms unless you have to go to them and get all signed up with them, and then they will give you the form. So I have some South Carolina SUTA forms, and I am going to go ahead and scan one onto as a PDF onto shared files, and you can download and use it, but it is only to be used for educational purposes. It can't be used, well, it's also an old form as well, cannot be used for any kind of real SUTA with South Carolina. Now, in your project, of course, is Pennsylvania, and there is a Pennsylvania SUTA form in your book, and you would have to make a Xerox copy of that if you didn't want to write in your book itself.